In this video, I show you HeroQuest on my 3D board from Dragon's Rest. Before we get into today's video, just want to share with you what the GGGG is for this month. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks some of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts, and for this month of December of 2021, we have this printed and painted Druid's Palace from Rise of the Halflings Kickstarter that's going on right now from Printable Scenery. We also have 3 all-in pledges from the Zone Quantum Tempest Kickstarter. And Patreon supporters will be voting on the $100 that's going to go towards a crowdfunder for this month. If you want to check out all of the GGGGs, go ahead and use the link below and check out the details there. So I have a whole series of videos on how I made this 3D board from Dragon's Rest. And if you want to check out that playlist, go ahead and go here and you're going to see more details, especially in part 3 in some of the options you have if you want to 3D print your own board that's like this. Ian did just come out with another iteration where you're going to have walls on all of the rooms so that you can actually use each of the rooms separately. Clearly, because that just came out, I didn't choose to use that system, but you have a lot of options. And the way that you get these files for printing is that you become a $6 a month Patreon supporter for Dragon's Rest, and that will give you access to not only all of these files that you see here, but a bunch of others. And Ian is constantly coming out with new iterations and new files, so that is the best $6 support for any Patreon supporter that you're going to be able to find. I do have this video split up where I give you a general overview of my 3D board and how it is working with HeroQuest, the 2021 version, reprint, and also using the app. So I do have a little bit of gameplay. You can use timestamps below if you want to fast forward and see a little bit of what the gameplay looks like using the app as well as using this 3D board. It isn't the best video quality because the lighting isn't very good and I'm moving around a lot, but I will show you just a little bit, enough so that you can see how it looks like on this game board. Spoiler alert, it is the first adventure that is in the quest book, so just know that you're going to see some parts of that quest in the playthrough. Also, at the end of the video, I will have a little bit of a tutorial because some of you have asked, how do you put this board together after you print out all the pieces? So I do show a blown up piece where all the pieces are separate, and you can see how to place these boards once you print them all out. Again, you can skip to the end of the video if you want to see that. So when I heard that HeroQuest was going to be reprinted, I did go ahead and make this 3D board just because I had such nostalgia for that game since I played it when I was younger, and it was one of my first introductions into dungeon crawlers, even though I was playing D&D before then. So it was really right up my alley, and it did create a whole category of games called dungeon crawlers, and that is my favorite genre of games, and even to this day those are the kind of games that I actually play the most and enjoy the most. And during COVID-19 I had a lot of time on my hands where I wasn't really getting together with my friends to game, so I spent a lot of time hobbying, and so this was one of the perfect projects where it did require a lot of time. Obviously I painted up all of these different pieces. This is actually my second iteration of the board, so I created a whole new board, coloring it, trying to recreate the HeroQuest board as well. So this did take a lot of time and energy, but I know a lot of you are actually tackling this project and are having fun with it as well. I do have painting tutorials for everything, including the 3D board, but also the miniatures, the furniture, all that kinds of stuff. So again, check out my previous videos in order to see that. Out of all of the 3D boards that I've seen out there, I actually feel like Dragon's Rest is one of the best solutions, primarily because you can pull off individual walls, which is what you need, because as part of gameplay, when you move a character out into a new area, you have to, or at least the character playing Zargon or the Dungeon Master is placing out features and doors as you uncover more of the map. And because of that, you're starting off the board with really very few, only one door where you're entering in, and you don't know where the rest of the doors are at. So the dungeon isn't pre-built, but as you're exploring, as you're moving around, you are replacing some of these sections of walls with a door. And so I haven't seen a lot of solutions with other 3D printed boards where you're readily able to remove individual sections of the wall and replace it with doors and features that you need. And in this case, I have not only the ability to place these doors, but also secret doors can be placed, as well as traps. And it really makes it versatile and fit really well with HeroQuest. And one of the many challenges with even 3D printed dungeons and boards is the problem with the wall, because the wall is actually taking up space. So how do you tackle the fact that you don't have a full square with the spaces that have the walls? Well, Ian has decided to actually make 1.5-inch squares. The walls aren't even a 1/2 inch wide, so that actually leaves enough space for the miniatures to actually stand in one of the squares. So this is one of the best systems that I found, not only for HeroQuest, but also if you see this video, I reviewed a ton of other 3D printable options, and I found this one to actually be the most versatile, and actually you're able to recreate the entire HeroQuest board, where a lot of other systems, particularly the ones that have 2x2 sections, it's almost impossible to completely and accurately recreate all the spaces that's found in HeroQuest. Now, this middle tile is different. I did combine that with Forbidden Prints, and therefore I can't really share that file with you. So if you're looking for this center tile, it is not available, but I did provide a generic one that will work for the original board. The app definitely does make the game playable as a pure co-op, since it is controlling what would be Zargon or the DM. And so 4 players can play without the need of a dungeon master. Now, I always feel like having a human antagonist as the DM is harder than having that be randomly generated through an app. And that is true from my gameplay experience. But I like the fact that it does make the game a pure co-op, and you can solo the game now really easily. And the app will work for those of you who have the old version of HeroQuest. You're going to be able to use the app and play with all of your old components. And you're going to have access to all of the stretch goal characters and heroes. You're able to play them, and the stats are all in the app. So you can just proxy in whatever miniatures that you want, and you're able to have access to those, which I think is really great. Now, to be honest, the gameplay is dated, and I feel like is actually very, very simplistic, which is great if you're going to be playing with friends, or if you're going to be introducing non-gamers to the genre of dungeon crawlers. This is very easy to pick up. In fact, the app makes everything really streamlined and easy. You don't even have to read the rule book, because the app is explaining everything as you're going along. So in terms of introduction and in terms of just having fun, beer and pretzels kind of game, this is a good game, especially to introduce to kids, like I said. But as an adult who has played tons of dungeon crawlers, honestly, the gameplay isn't that great and is a little bit boring. And in fact, I probably wouldn't play just an individual hero. The only way that I would play this is with the app solo, where I'm controlling all 4 characters. And even there, the gameplay is a little bit dry and not all that tactical or exciting. And there's a lot of swinginess because you are rolling the dice. In fact, the first time I went through, my dwarf died not even halfway through the first adventure. So there is a lot of luck involved, and I would rather play a lot of other different dungeon crawlers than this one. And in fact, I've made some videos making suggestions. For example, one level up in terms of complexity and in terms of more control. One is Dungeon Crawler. If you want to check out that video, go ahead and click here. But that's sort of a good next level up because it's a consistent campaign. You're slowly leveling up your characters. You have more options in your leveling up. There's more variety of monsters. The AI is pretty good. But it's still simple enough that I would still be able to play with kids and would be able to implement the use of this 3D board in the midst of going through that campaign. So that is one suggestion. And then another step up in terms of complexity and sort of more control over the development of your character is League of Dungeoneers. and I just made that video, so go ahead and check that out here. I love that game. Dungeon Crawler and League of Dungeoneers is way better than Advanced HeroQuest, which I know is another option, but I found Advanced HeroQuest not being all that great, but I would suggest Dungeon Crawl or League of Dungeoneers. League of Dungeoneers is going to be another step up in terms of complexity from Dungeon Crawl, but I enjoy it more because it gives me a lot more options as characters, and it's more tactical, and the level up system also is really engaging as well. So those are two games that I would suggest playing over this one. And again, in League of Dungeoneers, you can use the HeroQuest board as well, my 3D board that I have here. So those are just two suggestions. Let's go ahead and go into a little bit of gameplay. Not going to spend a lot of time doing that, but let's go ahead and dive in, and you can see how this game plays on this map with painted miniatures and using the features of the app. All right, so I've gone through some of the quests. Here is the app, and here are the heroes. They've all taken some amount of damage. And we respawned out of this room, and we basically went through here, fought a couple monsters. There were some pit traps that happened when I searched for treasure, and that's what these things are right here. And then they just fought two dread warriors in here. I actually received a lot of damage from that. And now they are wandering up here and coming up here. And as my dwarf moved up here, it said to place these two doors, because that's what he sees down the corridor, is that you can just remove these individual tiles or these walls and replace them with doors. And that's why this set is important, is because you can pull off individual walls. And that's not a feature I see in a lot of other 3D dungeons, is the chance. And all of my pieces are magnetized. So as you can see here, there's magnets down here, and then on the base, it just sticks onto the base like this, which makes it super convenient. So my dwarf has moved up here. That's what he sees. And then let's see what happens. He rolled an 8. So far he's made 4 movements. So I'm just going to move him up more. Okay, we will open the door. And there is a table in there. So let's go ahead and put a table right in there. We'll open the door, and he is right here in front of the door. Let's see if there's any monsters. There's 2 goblins right there. Actually, this table takes up all 6 of these spaces right here. So the goblins are right there. So the furniture does look a little small compared to what's in the app, because the original game board is going to be 1-inch squares, and these are 1.5-inch squares. But conveniently, I can look at the app and just see where everything is placed. So the dwarf's turn is done because he maxed out his movement and he can't move up. So now it is the elf's turn. She got an 8. So let's move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she can go in. That is 6, 7, 8. So she wants to go out of the way. So she's gonna. So she goes here, and she's gonna roll her attack dice, which is 2 against this goblin. She got no hits. And then finally, it is my wizard's turn. And I chose this wizard rather than this guy here just because I like the miniature more. And I think the stats are almost the same. So let's see what his movement is. Only 5. So he's going to move just up to there. 4, 5. So now it is Zargon's turn. Yes.
Zargon's turn.
Okay, so the goblin is moving here.
Dwarf, roll your defend dice.
So he attacks the dwarf. There's 1 success. So dwarf is going to roll his defend die of 2, and he got no defense, so he's going to go down 1 hit point.
Defend yourself, elf. Roll your defend dice.
So the elf gets 2 hits on her, and she defends none of them, so she's going to take 2 hit points. So 3. Alright, we're done.
Only dread lies ahead of you.
Okay, I don't know if we can get the barbarian in there, but let's try. See, movement. Alright, 9 movement, that's good. That will move him up 6, 7, 8. No, he can't get there, so he has to stop. So let's move him up here. And he has to stop, and let's hope that our dwarf can do something. What's cool about this app is if I hit actions and I hit attack, it tells you which one of the actions are available, and I can hit, and it will tell you how to do the attack. So it basically explains everything, which is great. So the tutorial is actually built in, so if you have any questions on your actions, you can just use the app. So I'm going to go ahead and attack with the dwarf. He rolls 2 dice, and he gets no hits, but he is going to move out of the way so that next time the barbarian can go in there. So just move over 1. Next is the elf's turn. Maybe she should cast a spell. No, these are just goblins, so she is just going to attack. Actually, she needs to get rid of that one, so she's actually going to move up. And when I only move 1, I don't bother rolling, because obviously the lowest you can get is 2. So I'm going to attack that guy. Alright, so 1 success. And the goblin rolls only 1 defend die. And doesn't make it, so manages to kill it. So I just hit 1 damage. And then, yes, remove it from the game. So it tells you just to take it off.
The goblin has been defeated.
So she moved up 1, and we remove this guy. Which is good, it'll allow the other heroes to move in. I guess he'll try to attack. I don't want to waste a spell on this guy. So he's going to move up 2. And then roll just 1 die. Nope. So now it is Zargon's turn. Yes.
Sargon's turn. Defend yourself, wizard.
Okay,
Roll your defend dice.
So against 1 hit. He doesn't make it, so he's going to take 1 point of damage. He's down to 3.
Hero's turn.
So Barbarian goes first. Movement. He has a movement of 5. So he's able to move up next to him, and he's going to get an attack off. Okay, so he's going to get 3 attack die off of the goblin. He gets 2 successes. Goblin only rolls 1 defend die. Obviously, he actually didn't need to roll because they only have 1 hit point, so. Alright, we remove him.
Has been defeated.
Been defeated. And that was the barbarian's turn. Since he defeated him, let's see what the movement is of the dwarf. It's going to be 6. Yeah, let's move him down here, see what's down there. Yes, open the door. Okay, the altar is in there. So he moved down here 4. Open the door, and the altar takes up these 6 spots right there. See if there's any monsters. Yep, a goblin and an orc. An orc right there. You know what, I'm actually going to back up. Next up is the elf. And hit actions. And a search for treasure in there.
Searches the area for treasure. Draw a treasure card.
Ah.
Type treasure on your character sheet.
Potion of healing. Okay, so the elf has this. Is 4. She's just going to move up here and wait for those monsters to come to her. Alright, for the wizard is going to move up and search. Search for
Wizard
treasure.
searches the area for treasure. Draw a
Gold.
treasure card. Type treasure on your character sheet.
And then now it is Zargon's turn.
Sargon's turn.
The orc. The orc is going to attack. So moving the orc up to here. And let's see how many successes it gets. Misses. Good. And then I'm assuming the goblin's just going to move up. Okay. Yep.
You are lost without mentor.
That's good. Unfortunately, the barbarian... Oops, forgot to move him up one. The barbarian won't be able to attack this turn, but let's get one attack off from the dwarf against the orc. Oh, rolls 2, that's good. And the orc... It says actually here on the app how many defense die he rolls, so 2. So he blocks 1, but I think that kills him. Yeah, because he only has 1 body point. Yes.
The orc has died.
Alright, so we remove him. Oh, you know what? I forgot to place this. That door. So did I roll my movement die? I don't remember. Okay, well I rolled the same thing. 5, he's just going to move back here too. And then... Oops. So moving back 2. Now it is the elf's turn. I'll go ahead and actually have her... Oops, I gotta roll to see what her movement is. 8, plenty. So I'll move her all the way up here and get a melee attack off here. Hopefully I can kill one lone goblin. Rolling 2 dice. Okay, 1 success. Goblin only rolls 1 die and dies. Remove him from there.
The goblin has been defeated.
Okay, and then finally it is the wizard's turn. Let's roll to see what his movement is. It's only 5. 5, that's enough to get him there. Okay, so let's move him there. Right here. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a sense of how the gameplay works just using a 3D board. Some of the stuff that you are not seeing here are basically whenever block traps come down, you can place them here. Whenever the double passageways are completely blocked, you can place one of these down in there to block that off. Also, all of the pit traps I decided just to have poison down in there. And these are not a full square because there are spots like right next to the wall where you can put and it'll fit right in there, or some of these hallways as well. It will fit in the smaller square, which is great. Also in other scenarios where there are more traps, we have these spike traps. And I know in the game you don't necessarily have these. You don't place down them because they go away once they're triggered. But I just like having these cool looking spikes. This method, I think, especially magnetized, is perfect. because you can use clips for these, but obviously just having magnets makes it so that you can remove them anytime that you want. So this makes obviously the game much more immersive. I have all of these painted miniatures, and this app really makes it so that you can play solo. You don't need Zargon, or you don't need a dungeon master to set up everything. So this is all automated. And then having all these cards, obviously I didn't write stuff down just for the sake of demoing this. I just think the board really makes it with all of these props, furniture. I mean, look how awesome this looks on your gaming table. I have a whole playlist of how I made this board and the different options that you might have. So have fun playing your version of HeroQuest, and hopefully this inspires you to create a 3D board. Here's a shot of the map where everything is blown out so that you can see how the map goes together if you're using my tiles. As you can see here, for the most part, you are trying to, as a general rule of thumb, all of the walls are pointing that way with a few exceptions. So if you look here, the center of the board is where all of the wall sections are pointing towards. So you'll notice that this is all on the left and the top. Now this piece doesn't have walls on the side, so just straight across the top. And then this is the exception, are some of these pieces do not have, it actually has a wall on the right, not on the left. So just basically follow this and you should be able to put together the map overall. So again, up here, right, because it's on the top right quadrant, it's all pointing towards the center. So this is where the wall sections are at for the most part. Again, this section is not going to have walls on both sides, and that's because these double hallway sections are the ones that have the walls. So here you can see they're basically made up of these two pieces, these 5 square pieces that I print out all together, and that's the same up there. It's just I haven't separated it. And then all of these ones are 4 square hallways, and none of these single hallways, single wide square hallways, have any of the walls on them. And then you're going to need a single one here just because of the length here. And then in terms of the outer border, they do come with these separate pieces. This is the edge, and again I fused them together so that you can print them out all as one piece, and they go ahead and stick there. Also, these corner pieces is just a singleton, but I did custom make this corner edge just so that they're fused together so that you don't have a gap right here in the corner. So pretty much once it's laid out like this, you can just snap them all together, and the magnets will pretty much stick together like this. So that's what's really cool about this project if you magnetize. Of course, you don't have to do that. You can totally just use the clips if you want. And then I will show you basically. And then once the map is set up, then you can just put all of the walls in place. And that's pretty much it. So here's the whole board with all of the walls. And I wanted to show you the furniture really quickly. So here is the furniture that came with the game. And obviously it looks great. The only downside is that because these squares are 1.5 inches, they're not going to take up as much space as in the base game, because the base game, I think the board is 1-inch squares. I'm assuming that, I'm not 100% sure actually. And then wanted to show you some alternatives. So Dragon's Rest, if you do become a Patreon supporter, you also get access to all this furniture. What I like about these as opposed to the ones that come from HeroQuest is that they take up a full 2 squares, so it's 3 inches across, whereas these obviously are more like 2 inches across. But that's not a big deal, because I mean, look at this. See it better here. It still takes up, pretty much 2 squares. So using the base furniture is fine. I went ahead and printed these out and made these just because I was waiting for the HeroQuest game, but clearly you can use the furniture that did come, and it's going to look fine in the rooms and whatnot with these larger squares. Same thing for the altar, right? It's going to still take up about 2 squares, so that's really all you need along with this as well. So the furniture that comes with the game obviously is going to work. So what's interesting is you get half bookshelves with the chance of putting in some plastic so that it looks like there's glass. And then here's the difference with the table, the scholar's table. Let me grab this one. They're actually about the same size, so you're not getting a huge benefit, but I think this looks really cool, especially with the little chair. And then these are actually printed from the Kraken Studios dungeon set. And I think here's a comparison of the sarcophagus. I actually like the one from Kraken Studios a little bit better. Just sort of the details on it I like a little bit better. The lid doesn't come off like it does with the one that comes from HeroQuest, but some of the details in this I actually like. They are the same size. And then the torture rack is actually, this one's actually from Kraken Studios, a little bit bigger, and it's wood. Whereas this one, only the wheel is wooden and everything else is stone. So that's a little bit different, but and I did print these out with my resin printer. That's why the details look so good. You would be able to see the lines if I had printed out on my FDM printer. And then these are the stock chests, treasure chests from the game. And here are the Kraken Studios ones, which I think I like these better because they're more stylized, right? So make sure you check out my video for Kraken Studios, the dungeon set from them. You can use those for creating a HeroQuest board, although you're going to have to fudge on the number of squares because it doesn't line up exactly. So there you have it. Hopefully this was inspiring for you. If you have ever been motivated, I think having a 3D printer and printing this out is one of your best options, as this is one of the most versatile systems that I've seen. Also, what is super cool is that Ian did create the rotating room that's in one of the expansions. I can't remember which one, but that actually, I did print that out, and that is available as well. And I hope that Ian is able to create some of the tiles that's found in the other expansion too. So this, again, I think is a great and versatile system. And check out my other videos if you want to see how to make this board. So thanks so much for watching. Happy gaming, happy hobbying. We'll see you next time.